Hi, welcome to SCW, the wrestling channel here on YouTube.com. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. Please subscribe right now. Leave any comments in the comment section. Please like and share the video as well. Once again, it's time to answer your questions in the wrestling community for Ask SCW. If you want a question on one of these episodes, then all you got to do is get involved and leave a question with the hashtag AskSCW. It could be anything wrestling related. I will answer it in the next video and I'll give you a shout out as well. You can follow me on Twitter as well as Facebook, Instagram, and like I say, you can always subscribe here on YouTube, and like I say, leave the hashtag AskSCW followed by your question. I'll answer it in the next video. But we've got questions today from Twitter and from Facebook, so without further ado, let's get straight into proceedings. The first question this week comes from Tire World Order. If you could book an interpromotional WarGames match, but you can only choose stables, which stables are in from the currently active stables from across the wrestling world? So many great stables and so difficult to pick just one match. I mean, the thing is, you could easily throw in so many ideas and so many teams. I mean, as well, it depends on the limit of how many stables I'm allowed to be thrown in here, especially with the modern WarGames format, because of course in the last couple of years we've had 2 teams of 4. In the first year we had 3 teams of 3. So I'm going to go with 3 teams just because of the fact that it gives me a little bit more depth and a little bit more to play with here on the answer of your question. And I'm going to go, I'm going to play kind of a bit of a unique angle here. I'm going to take the Bullet Club from New Japan. I'm going to take the Elite, of course, from AEW, and I'm going to take the OC from WWE. And of course, all of them have Bullet Club connections previously, so that would probably be the way I would go with it. The Undisputed Era, of course, is always attempted to throw in this as well, because Adam Cole, A, was in the Bullet Club, and B, I mean, I don't know, it just, the Undisputed Era are kind of used to these wargame environments, so I'm almost these days kind of used to them being involved in wargames every year. It'd be very strange to not see them in one. But for the 3 teams that I will stick with the OC, but I'm going to stick Finn Balor in with the OC. So you've got the Styles, Balor, Gallows, and Anderson. If we take, you know, the Elite, of course, we have like the likes of Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, probably throw Cody in there. You know, we've got Jay White, Gorillas of Destiny, take another member of the Bullet Club and throw them in there. And we've got a magical stable there for you. And I think it would be a great WarGames match if you to throw those 3 teams involved. It all has that history as well behind it of previous Bullet Club members all the way through. And almost it's kind of like a, you know, is the old guard better than the new guard, and that would be a great way to find out. So for me, that would be my answer for it. But I mean, there's so many great stables out there, and you can make so many different dream matches that the possibilities could be endless. So I'd like to know people's opinions in the comment section. How would you do this if you were going to actually book this match, and what would you be in favour of seeing? Which 3 stables would you like to see go at it within WarGames, or would you prefer 2 stables, and would you like to go for it that way? Next question comes from George Jones, and he's asked me, what's your thoughts on Bray Wyatt's new character? Surely Liv Morgan may be, although I personally would like to see Bray stay on his own. Well, of course, George is referring to the Firefly Funhouse. This week on SmackDown has been rumoured we're going to get a new member in the Firefly Funhouse, and the rumour is that it's going to be a female character. There has been rumours that Liv Morgan could be that person. The only thing that makes me feel that perhaps not is because she's been drafted to Raw, although she's not appeared on Raw since, and there's no sign that she is going to be back with you know, Sarah Logan to reunite the Riot Squad. I feel like we're not, if we were ever going to get the Riot Squad reunited, we need Ruby back as well. I don't think Ruby is back towards the end of the year. She has kind of got that dark sort of look, and she would be kind of cool for this. But I'm interested to see who and how they are going to book for this role, if they are going to put a WWE superstar in the Firefly Funhouse to give them TV time every week. It is kind of good though for someone that isn't getting TV time, because it gives them that exposure and will give them something on TV that they wouldn't have to do otherwise. And depending on their acting skills, maybe it could really blossom and bring someone to life, and it would perhaps give a bit of life to the women's division. So, I mean, I'm personally all for it. I mean, I've been such a fan of the Bray Wyatt character so far, of what he's done in 2019, the Firefly Funhouse, all the characters involved on that. But for every now and then, we need to freshen things up. We don't want them to remain stale, and I think that's the fear. I think the fear factor for Bray Wyatt is if that character starts to get stale, the momentum will go quickly, and like we've seen with so many other people within WWE, they get the carpet pulled underneath them quite quickly, and all of a sudden, from being a top guy, they go to a middle of the card. Before you know it, they're a jobber, or they're in catering, or a laughing stock. And the thing is, with someone like Bray Wyatt with that character, if it's not taken seriously, it would be a laughing stock immediately. So for me personally, this gimmick needs to be kept fresh the whole way through, to keep people interested, to keep people intrigued. I'm personally a fan of it. I'm just not sure who's going to fill the role. The rumours say Liv Morgan. If it is, I'm in favour of that because I'd like to see what she could bring to the table. But she was drafted to Raw from SmackDown, so unless they casually just ignore that, that would be interesting to see if that would be the case. But yeah, I'm going to wait and see how it plays out. We've given a full prediction because I can't really give you a good answer and a good guess at this particular moment. But what I would say is I'm invested and I'm looking forward to it. Next question comes from Blunt Prince. Who are the Fiend face now, or will they continue the Daniel Bryan story? Easy for me to say. Well, I mean, it kind of feel like it could have been a one and done at the Survivor Series. Of course, Daniel Bryan was brought in almost, you would say, last minute for this feud with Bray Wyatt, because the rumours were suggesting that The Miz was going to be the guy taking on Bray Wyatt at Survivor Series for the Universal Championship. I'm glad that didn't happen. I think Daniel Bryan was the right guy to take the spot. But The Miz is in the story, which makes you feel that maybe they could continue the story and it could play into a triple threat match. I think that would be better if they're going to do that, if The Miz has to be involved in the Universal Championship picture, because for me, The Miz has had a dreadful year. I don't think he's had a good year at all. It's one of really poor standard for him, because he was almost to a point to being where we wanted him as a top guy this time 12, 18 months ago. And now he seems to be, almost a curtain jerker and just a talk show host every single week. So for me, if he's going to have to be involved with this, Daniel Bryan needs to stay in the story. I wouldn't be surprised to see a triple threat match. I think that's the direction they'll probably head, if at all. But Daniel Bryan did lose clean at the Survivor Series, so it also wouldn't surprise me if we did get The Miz one-on-one here. I don't think we're going to get just The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan, but if I had to lean towards it, I'm going to go for the triple threat. Next question comes from Dylan Ketchum, who asks, what did you think of NXT WarGames? Love this question. I didn't get a chance to do predictions for this weekend with NXT, with Survivor Series. Life, unfortunately, got in the way a little bit, and of course, with so many shows as well to keep up with in the world of wrestling, I like to have the information in before I do these videos, really, because that way, if I've not seen content, like with predictions, for example, then I kind of feel like that I'm doing it a bit blind and that I'm not reading the story to what it should be. So I always like to leave it just before the pay-per-views to give those predictions, and I always ask anyone if they have the opportunity to please check them out, and always give me their predictions for the events that come up, because I will do one for TLC this time. Going to make sure I don't miss out for 2 straight pay-per-views. But looking at the NXT WarGames show, and to give you a bit of a review, which I don't normally do the review genres these days, but I have the opportunity with this question on this platform. I thought it was a great takeover. I don't know if it was the best of all time, but I really think that it was put so well together. I love the storytelling for the women's, the WarGames match for the women. I think that first of a time for them as well. I really think that it stole the show almost. It really set the tone for the evening when it had the last minute change with Mia Yim being Dakota Kai. And then Dakota Kai completely turning. I mean, I think a lot of people would have predicted that the heel turn for her was going to come, but the idea that she just did it in that moment, that way in the match, it wasn't even done in the cage where the faces would lose. It was just genius. I absolutely loved it, and I really feel that this has a potential to be like a Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa kind of story, and that will really elevate both women. So Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai really have a lot to gain here. And what's so beautiful with this as well is that Nox will probably be out for a little while if they're going to sell the story properly, and we'll probably have Mia Yim come back, and they've got a mini program to start off with to really build up Dakota Kai for this feud. So for me, I think this is absolutely perfect the way it's been written and put together. You've really built up a challenger for the NXT Championship as well, the Women's Championship with Rhea Ripley. You've done the same in the men's match as well with Tommaso Ciampa pinning Adam Cole. My only negative with WarGames this year was not actually really WarGames itself, it's the fact that they were booked to be on Survivor Series the following night, and they dominated in the end, but I mean, it kind of made me feel as if WarGames wasn't as brutal as it's supposed to be. You're supposed to sell this as one of the most brutal matches, yet everyone was still kind of fresh the next night, with the exception of Adam Cole, the exception of Pete Dunne, who wasn't in a WarGames match, but still was banged up from his triple threat. Them two sold it against each other, but they didn't really sell it as much everywhere else, it felt, amongst the card. You could argue with Io Shirai and Candice that maybe perhaps they were selling it and came back later in the match, but I just feel I would have liked to have seen a bit more bandages, a little more banged up superstars here, and I think it made Raw and SmackDown look weak on Survivor Series. But looking at the NXT, I thought the takeover was absolutely superb. Pete Dunne was the right guy to win that triple threat match. I loved his match with Adam Cole. I think that was put perfectly on Survivor Series. Finn Balor's match with Matt Riddle was okay. It wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be, but it was almost a last-minute filler. It was supposed to be Balor versus Gargano before Johnny Gargano got injured, so I kind of let them off a little bit, and I'm pretty sure that these guys could put on a proper stand-up match if they had a rematch somewhere down the line. I will touch on Survivor Series quickly just while we have touching with NXT, because the beauty of NXT WarGames, and although I say it didn't sell them so much for Survivor Series, that takeover of the injuries and stuff the next night with as many people as it could have done, the superstars that were made over that weekend is incredible. They absolutely built up Rhea Ripley to be a superstar. She won on SmackDown, she won on WarGames, she won on Survivor Series. Keith Lee, his stock has risen so much higher. We only spoke last week on this particular video, and the question was put in about the NXT superstar that's benefited the most. If it wasn't Keith Lee at that point last week, it certainly is now. The guy has skyrocketed to the point he's probably even a favourite to be the next guy now on the main roster, because he was that over, that popular, and apparently Vince was very high on his performances. A lot of people really benefited. Shayna Baszler as well, although the triple threat match that main evented was a bit of a disappointment, she picked up the win. So there's lots of people here that have benefited through the Survivor Series weekend, through NXT WarGames, and through that Survivor Series pay-per-view. It's been a thing of beauty, and I think actually it's probably been the most consistent weekend of wrestling in WWE this year, to see two solid shows on two solid nights. I was very happy with it, and long may it continue. I mean, I'm sure there was some people that weren't as happy with Raw this week. I personally was okay with it. I think the third hour dragged a little bit, but I love the Seth Hill turn. I think the direction of where it's going is slowly building to something where it can be a real positive, and we've only got a few weeks until we start getting towards where we're going to consider Royal Rumble season. And when we get to there, I really hope they've got a direction of where they're going to go and push this thing on, and we can maybe make some real stars here. I think there is a real excitement element in wrestling right now in WWE, that after this weekend, it's almost as if, because NXT was so over, they've become the main show, and it's almost out of the old, in with the new. And the superstars that we currently got are good, but they keep with so much start-stop booking. Some of these guys have been booked so strong in NXT that it makes you wonder, have we got the next big star that's there that will come up to Raw, SmackDown, maybe during the Rumble, maybe during some point next year, and they can be that person that can really push the company on. It could be a long way off, could be well off here, but just where someone's booked so strongly and things have felt that exciting after last weekend, there is that potential that that could happen. And it all did start with WarGames, or it all technically started with an invasion and a couple of weeks of build. But it really felt WarGames was where it solidified that at the start of the weekend with the Saturday show, and it continued with Survivor Series. So very great weekend. WarGames was awesome. Survivor Series, awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to see what goes forward. We spoke about the Royal Rumble. Austin Whitley with our next question. Early predictions for the Royal Rumble. Well, I mean, we'll go into the Royal Rumble matches, I think, is probably the safest bet of where to go of much predictions. But if we look at the Women's Royal Rumble, I've got two names currently that I think are the likelihood to be the winners for that. Shayna Baszler, for me, is the top prediction right now because of the fact that she was so strong at Survivor Series that it does make me think a match with her and Becky Lynch one-on-one is on the cards. And Baszler really does fit the mainstream main roster style with booking, strength, and she has got the ability to put bums on seats. She's probably the next best to Ronda Rousey, to what they could ever hope for, and she could fill Ronda Rousey's boots long term, and I think that would be a great thing for the company. So I do think she's a strong contender and currently the favourite to win that Royal Rumble match. But I do wonder if Ronda Rousey will come back at the Rumble, because the one match that is left for Rousey to do, if she is to stay in WWE, minus the 4 horsewomen rivalry, which we'd all like to see, but the one-on-one match that is needed to be done is her and Becky Lynch, and that for me still makes me believe, I felt the whole year that Ronda would win the Rumble. She's now second choice at the minute, but as we go towards the Rumble, I think she could be a candidate for the women's. Looking at the men's, Keith Lee, after what's happened, has got to be in contention, but I do believe that we are probably going to see Roman Reigns win the Rumble at this moment. I just feel he's been out of that picture for so long, in the title area, that probably him and Bray could be the direction for WrestleMania at this stage. I feel that that would be a likelihood. So for me, I do think that Roman Reigns is a possible candidate for the Rumble. If we're going to go for a third candidate, just as a Raw guy that could potentially do it, I do think Kevin Owens is a shout. I feel that Seth Rollins, if he was going to be as the champion at WrestleMania, he would probably already be walking as champion, because now he's sort of on. He's kind of turned heel. I mean, I still feel it's kind of an in-between at this stage, because he was still trying to get the fans to chant on side of him with the burn it downs and stuff. He's not gone fully pledged, full on. He's done what a lot of the faces are currently doing, or what faces turned heel have done, which is I'm still going to play me, but the fans are not going to like me. I would like to see a bit more of a venom from Seth Rollins and go full on heel at some stage, but there is room for that character to develop, and that for me is also exciting. He's almost like a Bret Hart in '97, that he's right and everybody's wrong. And I think there still is that time where it will twist and turn and be full on heel. Maybe be another week or two away, but it'd be interesting to see if he has a stable as well with the Authors of Pain. But going on to other Royal Rumble predictions, because that's the question at hand that we're talking about. I'm getting slightly off track. I think that the Fiend Bray Wyatt will still be Universal Champion. I think he will face Braun Strowman at the Royal Rumble, and I think that that will be your Universal Championship match. It'll be interesting to see as well if Becky Lynch will take on Asuka as well, because that was a match at the Rumble previously. Feels like that that is a match they want to do singles action, but it's not been done yet. We seem to be at the moment with these in a tag rivalry with Becky and Charlotte against the Kabuki Warriors. I'll be interested to see when that becomes a singles program again. So I think that's a potential as well. So those are my current early predictions for the Royal Rumble. Next question comes from me, but with smallpox. It's a great question. It's a great comedy question, this one. AskSCW. Since it's known that the Young Bucks killed Adam Cole and he has since been resurrected, would you say that he has gained the power of invincibility, and that's why he's almost murdered again at WarGames, but still put on a fantastic match against Pete Dunne the next night? Well, we currently touched on that briefly earlier on. These are the only guys that sold from WarGames at all, and I do kind of get where you're coming from. This match was awesome the next night. For me, it was a great match. It was probably the best one-on-one match of, well, it was the best one-on-one match of the night. Depending on how you look at Survivor Series, if it's the 5-on-5s that take your fancy, okay, but for me, this was the best match of the night. But I do kind of agree with you. This match should have been 2 or 3 weeks later. I would like to have seen people sold WarGames more. Like I said, it undermined the pay-per-view just a little bit, and I do actually think that the comedy element of this question is awesome, but I agree with your points entirely. This match should have been 2 or 3 weeks later, but they were the right people at the right time for that show, and I am pleased that both of them got to perform on Survivor Series. It's a big stage for NXT. Pete Dunne was the right candidate to face Adam Cole, and Adam Cole, of course, he is the face of that brand right now. He's probably a candidate for Wrestler of the Year. I am debating whether to do actually some polls of things for like a year, kind of, not actually year-end awards, but like, you know, who you think is the best of something this year, a Wrestler of the Year, for example. I think Adam Cole is definitely within a shout of that credential. Yeah, I agree with you. This should have been done 2-3 weeks down the line, but yeah, it was the right match to be done on the night. I just wish they'd sold this just a little bit more. Next question comes from Ryan Likes Wrestling. Well, so do I as well. We've got something in common there, my friend. With McIntyre pinning Walter at Survivor Series, do you think Drew could jump to NXT UK to take the title from Walter? I wouldn't mind seeing him join Gallus to take on Imperium. So would I. And we spoke of WarGames earlier. That would be an awesome WarGames match, wouldn't it? Absolutely amazing. Drew McIntyre in NXT UK. I think one day there's a potential. Right now, I feel that he's going to stay on the main roster. I don't think he'll go anywhere. But looking at it, I don't see why it couldn't be done in the future. I was one of the big disappointments for me at Survivor Series was Walter losing in that quicker time. I do kind of feel that he would have been better being in that match longer, being one of the bigger guys as well. One of the future bigger members of the roster as well. He's got a longevity in Walter, someone that will probably be on the main roster one day as a big deal. So to see him have his first, showing here and to lose within 3 minutes was not the best. But would I like to see this match between Drew McIntyre and Walter? Hell yeah, I'd love to see it. I think it'd be a great match to put together. I think the interesting part would be if Drew would ever come to NXT UK. I wouldn't rule it out in the long term, but in the short term, I think Drew would be more in favour, and I think Creative would be more in favour. There's still unfinished business on that main roster. They've tried to really put him over as a top guy, make him a superstar. It's not fully connected yet. I think the booking for him this year has not been as strong as it could have been, but I don't think they've given up on him yet. and I think for that reason, that's why he stays in the main roster right now. But who knows? Maybe in 2020, we have to wait and see some takeovers. We could even see something in the future, maybe next year for Survivor Series, a run-up to Survivor Series NXT, and they do this big war thing again. Why not invade NXT UK? Why not have that? That would be pretty awesome. I'd like to see it. Next question comes from Pro Wrestling Talk. What's your favourite Survivor Series 5-on-5 match? Well, I've had to get my thinking cap on and go through memory lane for this one because there's so many great matches that I could pick here for an answer. One of my particular favourites, and I'm going to go back to 2006, was actually the Survivor Series team of DX with Triple H, Shawn Michaels, the Hardy Boys, and CM Punk. They completely whitewashed the RKO team, or rated RKO team, on that Survivor Series 5-0. So it's not my favourite of all time, but it was probably my favourite team, and is a candidate for it. But there's been so many great matches. I actually think the 5-on-5-on-5 this past Sunday is a candidate, but I'm going to go for a fairly modern answer for you here. I really enjoyed the 2014 one, Survivor Series, where Dolph Ziggler was the sole survivor and Sting made his debut. I really thought that that was a real moment for Dolph Ziggler, where they kind of almost built him up again, where he could have been that main eventer, that star. Unfortunately, never continued with it. But to give you my number one answer, and this is what I've decided on the number one, because there were so many matches I went through and saw as potential here, and plenty I've not even mentioned. But I really enjoyed the 2016 Survivor Series match, where they had the Raw vs SmackDown for the first time. The match was about an hour long, and I just thought it was really built and really well put together. So that's going to be my answer for you. It was one of the matches of the year for me within WWE at that point, and I thought that it was a really good Survivor Series as well. So that will be my answer for you, the Raw vs SmackDown from the 2016, the men's 5-on-5. Next question comes from Straight Edge Josh. You think Mustache Mountain will join the main roster at some point? Well, they're a tag team, and tag teams are always needed on the main roster, but I do think they're a way off. They seem to be building always towards NXT UK. I think that they are two of the real big selling points, especially now Pete Dunne has moved on to the main NXT, and Rhea Ripley spending more time in the main NXT as well. They need to use the stars they've got. Mustache Mountain, Tony Storm, they're the kind of people that sell the tickets. So for me, I would say that Mustache Mountain probably stay in NXT UK for the time being. But they need to go for NXT a bit more as well. They've flirted with NXT, but they do seem to flirt back to NXT UK. I would like to see them on the main roster at some point as a tag team as well. Why not? It surely will happen. Tyler Bate's got lots of time on his side anyway. I mean, the guy's only, 21? I think he's about 21 years old. There's plenty of time for this guy to actually, become a main guy. I don't think he could even be slightly older now, but I mean, early 20s in the wrestling game, he's got a lifetime ahead of him. He's got probably 10, 15 years, and I assume it wouldn't hurt if it took him 3 or 4 years to make himself to the main roster. Mustache Mountain could be a big deal at some stage, but of course if they went up there right now, I do think they'd be whipping boys. But will they do that at some point? Yeah, I'm sure they will. We've got another question from Straight Edge Josh, who says, do you think it would be cool to see British Strong Style form on NXT to battle Undisputed Era? I like this question because I would like to see it happen properly. It did happen, didn't it, last year for a little while. We did see Mustache Mountain take on the Undisputed Era for the tag team titles. I think it was an infamous moment where the towel was thrown in, where Trent Seven couldn't carry on and couldn't get to the tag, so they had to kind of give up the tag team championships. But yeah, I would like to see it as a proper thing. And WarGames seems to be a big popular point on this particular video. Why not throw them guys in there as well? Why not have a full WarGames pay-per-view with every stable under the sun battling each other? I think it would be completely amazing. I would love to see it. But yeah, I would like to see a proper program with these on NXT to go towards a takeover, because I think that's when the rivalries seem more memorable, perhaps. And yeah, I would love to see it at some stage. Being from the UK anyway, and British Strong Style, big fan of them. Would love to see it. So yeah, why not? I'm totally on board. Next question comes from Noob and Co. What do you think of the 4 Horsewomen? Are they being booked poorly recently? What's your thoughts on Stardom planning on bringing back Kairi Sane and Io Shirai? And will Becky Lynch defend Raw Women's title at TLC next month? Handful of questions there for you, but let's go through them for you nice and quickly. Well, particularly we'll start with Becky Lynch. I don't think she'll defend the Raw Women's Championship at TLC, mainly because it's been advertised that she's involved with a tag team. She was recently the longest reigning Raw Women's Champion, where she even said as a tweet, right now, part of a tag team. So it makes her feel perhaps that the belt is not as important as it should be. I think she wants to get back to being the singles star and defending the singles belt. But right now, she's focusing on the teamwork, so I don't think it'll happen. I think the next time she will, on a pay-per-view, will be the Royal Rumble, so I don't think she'll be defending it there, no. We did touch on Stardom on the last episode with these two ladies. I think that it's an ambitious move from Stardom. I would like to see, why not? I would like to see companies take a risk and take a gamble and trying to bring big names into their company. Kairi Sane and Io Shirai have been in Japan long before big stars, and they've now been in WWE for the better part of the last couple of years. And if their contracts are coming up and they think there's a chance that they might want to leave, why not go for it? Why not try? I don't think they're going to go anywhere. That's just my personal opinion. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with them. But I think they'll stay with WWE. But nothing wrong with a bit of ambition and intention. And I think that these two ladies would benefit any women's division in the world. I think Io Shirai is probably, she's in the top 2 or 3 women in the world performers right now. Kairi Sane, her stock's dropped in WWE. I don't think she's been booked as well as she could have been. But the Kabuki Warriors, I'm enjoying the heel turn with these ladies right now. So let's see where it goes. As for the 4 horsewomen are being booked poorly recently, Bayley, I think, has probably been booked the best, which is strange to say. But since that heel turn and the new soccer mum haircut she's got going on, I think that's probably, she's been going in a good direction. She's kind of got a new mystique, a new attitude, and I'm liking it. I like to see how it's going to play out. Sasha Banks, yeah, she came back. She should have been Raw Women's Champion at that time. She should have beat Becky. She didn't. She's kind of now become the sidekick to Bayley on SmackDown, so it'd be interesting to see if she turns face at some point. But she's got this new music now, so it'd be interesting to see what they're going to do with her going into the new year. I kind of feel that this new music she's got is better suited for her heel. So, yeah, it's interesting to see with Sasha. I think she's had a mixed reaction since coming back, and she could be a lot better, well received from the audience on the card right now than what she has been. So, yeah, I would agree she's been slightly poorly booked. Becky Lynch, I mean, she's really been a victim of her own success, really. The man gimmick got off really well, but you could say that, she's been champion since WrestleMania. She's not had the best programs through the summer. She's been teamed with Seth Rollins. It's kind of gone against everything she is, so I kind of feel that they've not really done her the best service creatively. And I think fans as well, I mean, because she's not been selling out attendances the way that people perhaps thought she might, you've got the diehards that stick by her, you've got other people that probably want to see her drop the title, probably even to Ronda Rousey, they'd probably be welcome to see her back. So Becky's had a mixed year, and I think she needs to go back to being how she was before. But I do think the whole year she's been booked badly. I've always been quite critical of her WrestleMania run as well. Although it was the right result, I don't think it was booked correctly the whole way through, and I think that's always been a suffering point for Becky Lynch. Her peak point was at the Survivor Series last year, and I think they needed to keep her going on a heel run and have a bit more attitude like Steve Austin, but they've tried to do it, but they've not done it in the right way, from my personal opinion. So yeah, I kind of agree with that as well. Charlotte is a champion. If she's not involved with the title picture, she's not really involved, and that's kind of how it is with Charlotte Flair. She's not really put in these mid-card programs because, well, no one really takes it creditable if she's going to take on Sarah Logan or she's going to take on Peyton Royce. We know it's a squash match for Charlotte, so, I mean, the thing is with Charlotte, unless she's going to be at the top of the card, it doesn't quite work. And the problem here is that Charlotte has faced Becky Lynch so many times, Asuka so many times. She would have been better on SmackDown right now. That's where Charlotte should have been, but of course, it's beneficial for her partner Andrade to be on Raw. I think he suffers on SmackDown, so I guess right now you could say yes, she's been booked poorly recently, but I think there is programs that you can do with Charlotte Flair and make her creditable. I think perhaps a program with Natalya may be a best bet going forward at the moment, even though we've seen that a number of times, but that's probably the best thing they could do with her probably right now going into Mania season, if we're not going to get a championship run once again with her and Becky once again. Aussie Lucian blogs and podcasts. What's your favourite independent promotion that nobody has heard of yet? I love this question, and I want to know everybody's answers in the comments below, because there's lots of companies and promotions, independent promotions, that could do with that exposure, do with that support, and always support your local wrestling. For me, I've always been very fortunate with this channel. I mean, I don't live in an area where there is a local independent wrestling promotion to go and watch. I live on a very small island, so that's not exactly the place I did used to live in the United Kingdom. One of my friends, George, who does help me on this channel from time to time, has always done interviews with some promotions and stuff, and one wrestler that's always been very good to this channel is a wrestler called Jason King, and he started his own promotion, Reach Wrestling, and they are going to get my shout out here of full support, because Jason King is a great guy. He's a great wrestler, he's a great promo, and these guys are around the sort of, you know, Torquay, Exeter, Plymouth kind of areas. They're doing the circuit round there in the United Kingdom, and these guys, I think, are gonna get bigger than what they currently are, and I think that it will be, might take some time, of course, with an independent promotion, but these guys are selling a lot of their shows quick and fast when they do put shows on. And yeah, if anyone is down that part of the United Kingdom and they are putting a show on, I do recommend that you go and check it out, because Reach Wrestling, from the content I have seen, is very good, and I would recommend it highly. And a shout out to Reach Wrestling and also to Jason King. Jason King's been very good to the channel, as I say. You can go and check those interviews out that him and George have done on this channel if you want to go and look through the archives of SCW, the wrestling channel, here on YouTube. But that's all from me anyway on this particular video. Thank you for watching Ask SCW. It's always great to have you guys on board. Make sure to follow everybody on Twitter. Make sure to give people their likes and stuff, and this all build together as a wrestling community. It's really good to see that everyone's sticking together. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys next time here on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you soon for Ask SCW.